Thrown to the end zone. What a night those Sparks make it for.
Shakes through a couple of tacklers, still on his feet. Hawkins to the end zone. Unbelievable.
This is Chasing the Natty, a college fantasy football podcast. All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good to see you all here on this Sunday night. We are back with another college fantasy football live stream and mock draft where myself and a special guest run through a 30-round college fantasy draft, as well as answer your questions in the chat live on the show. Basically, it is a 2-hour period for you guys to come hang out. Let's talk college fantasy. Let's do a draft. Let's talk about our favorite players, all that great jazz. For those of you who don't know, for whatever reason, my name is Jared Palmgren. I'm the host of the Chasing the Natty podcast, a year-round show dedicated to the great sport that is college fantasy football. Joining me tonight is Mr. Matt Hicks over from the Rookie Big Board, a mostly Devy-focused podcast, again, as the name would suggest, focusing on rookies and them going into the NFL, but they also do great college fantasy content over there because Matt and his co-host John Lobb are both great fans of the college fantasy game, so go check out their content on that. So, Matt, welcome to the show, man. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. It's a great time to be here. As you said, it is college fantasy football season. You know, it's rankings content season, but the Tadpole Bowl kicks off tomorrow. We're 2 weeks away from the CFF Kings Classic, so it feels like the perfect time to get into a nice juicy 30-rounder here.
Dude, they are calling this potentially the best week for college fantasy in God knows how long. I mean, so many great things happening this week. Like you said, we got the Tadpole Bowl, the second year of it, kicking off tomorrow. So everyone, good luck with your drafts. And on that front, we have the awesome announcement that Yahoo Fantasy is jumping back into the college fantasy game. It is, Power 4 only, and it is redraft only and stuff like that, but it's still always great news to see a platform of that caliber offering college fantasy. And of course, the great Eric Froton is leading that charge over there. I don't think people realize, Eric's always been great. He's always advocated for fantasy, outwardly on Twitter and everything. I don't think people realize how much Eric does behind the scenes, working with tons of people that you would know, you follow, people that have tons of followers on Twitter. They're big names in the college football world, and he is constantly pushing the game. He is constantly finding ways to advocate for it and to get the game out there and to try to mainstream it. Truly, there's nobody who's done more for the game than he has, and he's being rewarded with it, with this position at Yahoo Fantasy. I'm excited to see what he does over there with that. Other really great news this week, Campus of Canton, our stuff over there, we just launched our official CFF mock draft simulator. It also does C2C and Devy, but it is the first of its kind for the college fantasy space. And then I'm blanking. There was one other major announcement this week that I'm I don't know. So, regardless, great week for college fantasy, obviously. And then, like you said, Matt, we got the Kings Classic draft in 2 weeks. You and John will be hosting that live from the Fantasy Football Expo. What is this? Is this our 5th year or 6th year doing it now?
I think it might be year 6 now, and it's so cool to see. I think that live stream is such a good indication of how much the game grows, because I think the first year, maybe 500 people watched. I think last year it was 8,000 or something. So it just it gets bigger and bigger every year, and coincidentally, I get a little closer to the title every year. I feel like maybe I'll break through this year.
I'm on the opposite end of that. I actually get a little further away from the title every year, it feels like. I made the championship the first year and lost by a couple points. Second year, I made the championship again. And then I got blown out by John. And then the next year after that, I was semifinals, and then I think it's like last year I didn't even make the playoffs. So I got to turn the ship around this year and make sure I draft correctly this time around. So also my apologies to everyone about Matt's audio just now. Matt, was I not complaining about your audio before the show and how I couldn't get it to work? And then now the show starts and it works, and so there was a bad echo because I had you coming through twice. This is just how it goes, man. It's the
life of the host, man. It's a stressful life.
But I'm glad your audio's fixed now. So that being said, let's go ahead and switch on over to.
Nice.
Oops. There we go. All right, let's go ahead and switch on over to the draft page here. This will get started here in about 2 minutes. Let's talk about what we're looking at here tonight, Matt. We got, this is a best ball draft, so we're going 30 rounds, and I believe it's full 4-point passing touchdown, full PPR here. You're at the 1-5. I'm at the 1-9, Matt. So what are you looking at there at the 1-5? What do you want to grab here in the first round?
Here early.
All right, and the audio is back on. Or say it one more time, Matt. Your audio is completely muted. That now.
Not on.
Good life of the host over here.
It's bad. It's not good insight. So that's why.
No. Let's talk about. Tell the people again, Matt. What are you looking there at the 1-5?
Yeah, so I think you're looking here. Top 2 running backs, top 2 wide receivers. If one of those guys falls to me, great. If not, it's probably time to pivot to quarterback, or we might have to get aggressive, start getting some my guys off the board a little early. When you're playing with sharps, man, you got to be okay with some contrarian plays as well.
No, for sure. You don't want to play the ADP game too much when you have people who are this sharp. You're not gonna be seeing a lot of value falling to you. Trust me, I'm fully aware of it. I've been in enough drafts where people are using my rankings against me as they are drafting. Man, it's a good time, and I'm telling you this now, Matt. The golden rule of this kind of stream is do not mention a player until you have picked them, because these little piranhas in the chat and the other drafters with us, boy, are they're always looking for a reason to snipe you, because they love seeing our reaction is more than anything else. So. All right,
I support it.
The draft is kicked off here. Keywan Lacey coming off at the 1-1 makes a lot of sense. I think that's really. Yep. I think a lot of people have seen the starter drafts go very similarly, right? It's you got your 3 top wide receivers with Tony, Smith, and Messer, and then Lacey's really, I think, the only consensus running back that a lot of people are willing to take ahead of those guys. Like, I would not be surprised here at all if Keto here grabs Smith or Messer, and by the time it gets to you, Matt, you're already looking at probably pivoting back to running back. Maybe there's a 4th wide receiver that maybe you take, again, depending on how you want to start your build. And then, like you said, you could go crazy and draft a quarterback in the first round. That's typically what you've done in the past in the Kings Classic, right? If I remember correctly, you usually go quarterback first round?
I have in the past. Part of what I try to do sometimes in these leagues too is try to force an early run. And so I do find that you can sometimes get people to bite on the quarterback a little bit earlier than you would expect, right? And you have to remember too, Fantrax is a different format, right? Than if you're doing like the underdog, power 4 only, like QBs fly there. So format always plays into this a little bit too.
Mm-hmm. For sure. All right, we got John on the clock now. I think Keto is online now. I think he'll be happy with that Jeremiah Smith auto pick there. I think
it could do worse.
I think it could have gone far worse. It's not like we're back in March and all of a sudden Diego Pavia is your first round pick there. All right, Matt, you're on the clock here with 1-5. What do you got?
Yeah, so that went probably as poorly as I expected it to here. I'm gonna go. Let's see here. This is my these 4 guys are my first top tier here. I'm gonna lean into my guy territory. Let's get right into it right off the bat here. I'm gonna go LJ Martin. I am fired up about him at BYU. I love the volume baseline. I love the touchdown potential, and I think he lines up pretty well schedule-wise also.
No, very nice. And I think Martin, among a lot of the options in the first round, might have probably one of the lowest, or not lowest, one of the highest floors of all the running backs. Like, he's basically locked into 200 touches for that BYU team. You're playing in the Big 12, where they're going to have to score plenty. Yeah, you're going to have to worry about Bear Bachmeier stealing touchdown opportunities here and there. He's got the whole Tim Tebow thing going on. But, ooh, I am happy with what I can do here. I get to do something here that I normally don't get to do.
Yeah, quick run on running backs here.
Quick run on running backs. Justice Hayne pick. Definitely push down some wide receivers here. Obviously would have been ecstatic if I got Messer, because I consider him a top 4 pick in drafts, but that was not meant to be. But I'll take the fourth wide receiver here. I'll go Bo Sparks. I haven't gotten a ton of shares of him here this year. It's a full PPR league. It's a pretty decent drop off between him and the next tier of wide receivers, so I'm just going to go ahead and grab him here, and assume that I'm going to be able to get some sort of value here as it comes back to me in the second round. Mike going with Brad Jackson in the first round there. I was subtly hoping that, because Jackson usually makes it to the beginning of the second round, that I might be able to make that stack there with Jackson, but does not appear that was meant to be. And what a double tap by Dub Deuces there at the 12th pick, man. I bet he was sitting there thinking at the beginning of the draft, like, oh my God, I got the 12th pick. I'm not going to like who falls to me. Brother, if you can start a draft off with Bishop and Baugh, you're sitting mightily pretty. Mightily pretty. I guess this is the draft where I'm going to get some guys that I haven't gotten a ton of shares of, because I think I'm going to take Cam Cook here out of West Virginia. This is, again, I don't really like the 1-9 spot, because I really do feel like, really after that 2-2 pick, honestly, like there's such a drop off very quickly with the top level guys there, and you have to kind of get lucky for some guys to fall back to you. I do like Lucky Sutton in this range as well, although I've gotten a ton of shares of him, and I've talked about him plenty of times on these live shows before, so I didn't want to just repeat that. But Cam Cook here, like, another guy I haven't gotten a ton of shares of this year, because he's usually going like late first round, early second round. That's a little rich for my taste, but for this draft, again, with Sparks, I might as well lean into just drafting some guys I don't normally do here. And Cam Cook, I want to make sure with all the drafts that I have, that I have at least 1 or 2 shares of him in case he goes absolutely ballistic at West Virginia this year, given that Rich Rod offense.
Yeah, I mean, my co-host over there at the Rookie Big Board, who, John Lobb, he is a huge Cam Cook fan. I think he's got him 4th overall, so he's been trying to talk me into him for weeks. So I'm coming around. I'm coming around with you.
All right, Matt, you're on the clock here at with the 2-8. Anybody fall to you here that you were hoping for?
Nope, just absolutely destroying my queue here. I have a hard time continuing to chase the running backs. I feel like I need to pivot off of them a little bit here. So let's go back to quarterback. I'll take quarterback 2 off the board here. If we're sticking with the floor play between Martin and Manning, I feel pretty good walking out of my first 2 rounds here.
No, I definitely.
Thomas was my other option there at wide receiver. That's what I was going between.
Yeah, Manning's a tough one for me, right? Because again, my projections do project out that he's probably the QB2, especially given how much better he and that offense looked in the second half of the year outside of that game against Georgia, right? Like, fantasy-wise, Manning looked like the guy that we were wanting to draft last year. But I'm not entirely convinced that he's really like Brad Jackson is a tier above everybody else. I'm okay with Brad Jackson being drafted in the first round and early second round for sure. Manning's the one that I kind of keep looking at and saying, like, I get it. He projects out well, but is he that much better than, Trinidad Chambliss or Devin Dampier or guys that you're going to probably be able to get here in the 3rd, 4th round?
Yeah. So. I'm a little terrified of Trinidad Chambliss. I know it's the same offense, but is it the same offense? And, I always have to try to do my best to separate my rookie scouting hat from my Arch Manning hat. But, man, doing his summer scouting evaluation, watching the last 3-4 games of last season, you can really see it coming together. And I think if you're taking Arch early this year, you're buying into, that second year of starting in the Steve Sarkisian offense, right? Like, that's the year it usually clicks. So that's what I'm leaning into with an Arch pick round 2.
We see that a lot with these dual threat quarterbacks in the SEC, right? I mean, Arch isn't quite the same as some of these other guys, but we've seen it with, the likes of Diego Pavia, Jaden Daniels. We're hopefully Taylon Green last year, right? Like a lot of these guys moving up from lower competition into the SEC. That first year doesn't quite work out as well as we'd hope, but then that second year they really turn it on. Obviously, Arch has been with Texas the whole time, so it's not quite a matter of like learning the level of competition. But you're right, that second year, these quarterbacks in the SEC do tend to take off a little bit more. So I totally understand it from Manning's perspective, and it's also why I'm really big in on John Mateer this year. Like last year, he definitely disappointed. QB, what was it, 52 overall or something like that last year? Not great. Injury played into that as well, but I think that second year, especially with some of the weapons they got him, I like him quite a bit. All right, Matt, man, I know. Oh, good.
I was just gonna say, man, absolutely destroying my running back queue here. This is gonna be a tough one to try to make up in the mid rounds.
All right, let's see what I can get here as well. You're on the clock, Matt. What do you got?
Oh, let's see here. Can we just lean into the stack?
Maybe. I see where your head's at, and I kind of like it.
I think we just lean into the stack here, go Cam Coleman. Between him and Young for me, I'm not super worried about Young moving up, which normally I am, but I'm a sucker for a good stack.
No, I don't blame you
whatsoever. Coleman, Manning, deep ball. I'm really excited about their ability to both win in the deep third. I think it's going to be really nice.
See, this is where I'm really starting to not like this late half of the first round or latter half of the draft here, because man, you used to be able to get at least one or two good running backs and maybe fall to you in the late third. That time has passed. Like you quickly get into a period here where running backs have questions and you don't really feel like that they're actually worth drafting here, to the point where I'm now heavily leaning towards drafting a different position here.
Yeah.
So we'll see what
I really like Austin Dendy, but it's like, man, we're paying third round price. It's we've chewed up a lot of value early in this in the draft of the running back position for sure.
And there's a lot of guys that go in this range that felt a lot better at the start of the draft or at the start of the off season, but it's like as we've gone along, it's like more and more questions start being raised about them. I'm actually going to go 2 wide receivers out of 3 rounds to start here. I'm going to grab Wyatt Young here. A guy that's gone as early at the beginning of the offseason. He was going late first round. He's already started falling pretty consistently to the late second round. But to grab him here in the late third round in a full PPR league, I would consider probably, looking at the draft so far. I mean, I'm the only person who's drafted 2 wide receivers, but, a start of 2 wide receivers there, that's probably the best wide receiver room we're looking at so far, depending on what maybe falls to me here in the 4th round. So.
Yeah, I like Young a lot. I've got him in the same tier. I've got him at the top of the next tier down from Cam Coleman. So he really would have been that next choice for me there. And I think it's smart to follow the value of the way the board goes, right? You can't force it and just end up chasing the whole draft away.
No, for sure. And like I said, the running backs have come off. The running backs didn't fall to me, so we're just going to work with that. Oh my God, Dub Deuce's draft so far is phenomenal. I mean, getting Satania there.
I like
at the late third is a
full PPR
is ridiculous. Ridiculously nice. Good stuff there from Dub Deuce there. Let's see. Let me go ahead and answer some questions in the chat. I realize we haven't gotten that far yet. What are you just Joe Jackson at 4-1? No, I've been liking him there. All right, well that was my running back pick I was going to take here in the 4th round. I think I might end up just again it's not what I want to do really, but again now Nick Marsh came off there at 310. I'll take the other wide receiver. I'll take Charlie Becker.
There you go.
I think I have my starting trio of wide receivers for the whole season here. This is not how I normally draft, to be clear to anybody watching this. I'm usually a guy that's drafting 3 out of 4 picks of my first 4. 3 of my first 4 picks. I'm usually drafting running back. Right. Not only am I not doing that, the one running back I have taken is not a guy I normally take. So this is a very interesting draft for me so far. We'll see how it goes from here. So
I mean, it's all about variance, right? You want to have some options here when you get into the middle of the season. Your same guys go down with injury.
Exactly. All right, let's see. Questions in the chat here. Let's see. Ellicase8817, he says, I have the 104 in a 12-team full PPR draft. I don't know whether to take Messer or a running back at that spot. What do you recommend? In a full PPR league, I think you have to take Messer. Like, you're not going to find many wide receivers where it's crystal clear you're going to get 120 plus targets out of them and likely finishing with at least 80 receptions on the year. So yeah, I think just from even Keywan Lacey, right? Like he'll get some pretty solid receiving work here and there, but like you got to take advantage of the full PPR system there. If Messer's there, you got to take him. You agree with that, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't take Messer. I took a running back over Messer, so I don't want to sound like a hypocrite here. But it's a system worth buying into. I will say, like, I thought the Florida Atlantic offense projected just a little bit better than it actually clicked last year, and obviously we're going on year 2. So I feel like I have a little skepticism that it's all going to come through, but so that's why I would consider the other side of that. But when you're talking full PPR, it is tough to move away from him at the 1-4. But I think it's worth pointing out, Jared, like if you look at this league, passing on the running back and you don't draft again until 2-9, I mean, look how many guys came off the board.
No, for sure. Again, you'd have to get lucky with a guy like Nate Shepard who made it back to 210 in this draft. If I was drafting 1-4 and Nate Shepard made it back to me there, I'd be totally happy with that. But to your point about the FAU offense, I agree, Matt. It is almost certainly a concern. But do we think Caden Veldkamp's going to lead the league in interceptions again this year? He threw 17 last year. Like that's a huge reason why the FAU offense just was not clicking and why so many of their drives didn't end in scores.
Right.
And
that's a good point.
You have to think that regresses a little bit in the positive direction. We get a bit more touchdowns because he had only 23 touchdowns last year in a Zach Kittley offense. Year 2, I think we'll see some improvement there. And Messer, I mean, he only had 5 touchdowns last year. I fully anticipate him getting at least 3 more this year. Especially
I think the helpful thing
his final year.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, especially his final senior year here.
Yeah, I think the helpful thing, right, was like when you're trying to do projections, you have to try to, project out what's the most likely scenario, right? And what's helpful to go into this situation with is if it all gets put together, right? If everything clicks and it's reasonable to think it will, Messer's the guy. There's no argument like, is Messer the guy who gets the touchdowns or not? It will be him.
No, for sure. By the way, I like that pick there, Fred, of Trinidad Chambliss at 5'2". That again, to me, Matt, like I know you have the concerns about the Ole Miss offense, but it's like, would I rather grab Arch Manning at 2'8", or would I rather get Chambliss at 5'2"? I'd take Chambliss in the 5th round almost every single time.
Well, I was hoping they'd bite a little quicker here. That's what I was hoping would happen.
Matt, I told you can't tell people what your strategy
what
is.
What you're doing.
You can't, otherwise they're going to just go right against it. So
that is very fair. And they've got me in a tough situation again here. Do I just keep going contrarian? I don't think I want to. Oh, man. They have the running backs are just in shambles here.
Yeah, just a lot of questions. It's like it either you're looking at guys that are splitting the carries, so you're not feeling like they're true like workhorses, or they're on offenses that you don't trust to get them more than 8 touchdowns throughout the year.
All right, I've got 3 wide receivers right now, right next to each other in a tier. They're all available, but I'll go with the homer pick here. I'll take Staley. Okay, I could say this now. It was between Staley, Hines, and there's one more wide receiver that are next to each other.
Let's see. Let me take a look at my top wide receivers. I think I know who you might have been looking at.
Yeah, I don't want to say it. I've learned my lesson here.
I might consider taking him here just to keep boosting my wide receiver room, but we will see. I definitely am starting to feel the pinch on running back, though. All right, I'm going to rapid fire some of these questions real quick because I know we're a little behind here. Brett White.
Oh, that was my last guy. Sorry. These 3 guys are all next to each other in my ranking.
Look at that. Brett White says, anyone else worried about Caleb Hawkins coming crashing back down to earth? I mean, it's a concern, but it's like what does crashing look like, right? I don't think there's a world where he's not the workhorse back for the Oklahoma State's offense again this year. I don't see a world where that offense just completely tanks. Like, it'll translate somewhat. It's just a matter of, is he going to get 20 touchdowns again this year? Yeah, that's very unlikely, right? But he's still probably going to be one of the safest floor plays. And he's got, because of what we saw last year, he's got one of the highest ceilings. Again, he's playing in the Big 12, right? We're not talking about, the USF offense going to Auburn, right? Where we do have legitimate concerns there. All right.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I think you should always be reasonably concerned when a guy comes from the G5, the G6 to the P4, right? But you're never really going to get a better situation than coming with your head coach, with your play caller, with your quarterback, and with your wide receiver one, right? So you have to lean into variance whenever you're playing CFF, in my opinion, and Hawkins is well worth it. So I'm drafting him a ton early.
Bainbridge took Craver. That was one of the wide receivers I was looking at to
in a full PPR, yeah.
Full PPR, just to see if he would fall back to me potentially, but that's fine. That's okay. Mike's a smart guy. He made a smart pick. I'm not shocked. Go ahead and load up on that position as well, just so I can start thinking.
Trying to keep the Q stacked here.
I know, right? It's like
full-time work.
Let's see. Michael Backen says, question, C2C and CFF, Chudzinski or Overmeyer? I would personally lean Chudzinski, although I do think my projections like Overmeyer better, but that's just because they had an insane performance last year with Koziel, right? Like, my projections are not going to ignore that awesome year, and that's going to boost up Overmeyer, but we know Chudzinski is going to be a very big part of that Boston College passing game. Now, I'm worried about Boston College because I think that could turn into a disaster scenario halfway through the season, but in terms of which one I'd rather go with, I think I'd rather just lean towards the guy who we know what that offense or what his role in that system is going to look like. You have any quick thoughts on that, Matt?
Yeah, I'm a pretty big Overmeyer guy. Again, just trying to lean into the scheme, the system, and you're not replacing Koziel 1-for-1, but I think if you get 80% of Koziel in Overmeyer and having that comfortability with Weigman in the tight end, that's where I'm leaning on that play. But I think Chudzinski's just like a tier down in our consensus rankings from Overmeyer.
All right, I'm gonna keep leaning. I'm going with some split backfields here, but again, these are backfields that have produced well for us the last couple of years. Again, I took Davison out of Oregon there. I'm taking Dylan Riley here out of Boise. Both of them are going to have their up weeks. Both of them are going to have their down weeks. But man, their up weeks are so good in a best ball format like this. Again, I will find some safe floor plays at running back later. For now, I'm just going to hope that those guys give me at least 3 30-point performances throughout the year, and plenty of 15-pointers to keep me afloat.
Right from the top of my queue, no complaints there. That's a nice pick with Riley.
Let's see, more questions. Let's see. I'm trying to go through as quickly as we can. All right. Unomas Pasol. God, I totally butchered that. My apologies, whoever that is. If how much should you adjust your projections if it's half PPR versus full point? I mean, if you're doing like legitimate projections, in my opinion, you should have a column that projects it out to half, like what is the fantasy points of half PPR and what is the fantasy points in terms of full PPR, right? Because all it is just adjusting how much you're multiplying the number of receptions that you're projecting by, right? So that'll give you a good idea. But in terms of just general statements, obviously the higher PPR you have, the more that volume is going to matter, and it's going to be less about the efficiency. So like in a standard league, you would probably want to target more of those outside wide receivers that tend to be more efficient with the touches they get. They may not get as many, but they're ending with 5 catches for 18 yards per catch. So you're getting 90 yards out of it, right? Versus like in a PPR league, all of a sudden, in order to get those 90 yards, they just need, 6 catches for 6 catches for 30 yards, and it's the same number of points. So the volume starts mattering a whole lot more. So the higher PPR you go, the more your slot wide receivers typically, which are typically the volume hogs in a lot of offense, they're going to matter a whole lot more. So guys like Isaiah Satania, jump up your board a whole lot more. Guys like at SMU, if you're a big Ymir Knight fan, he's going to jump up your rankings quite a bit there. Bo Sparks and Eason Messer, like in full PPR leagues, in my opinion, Eason Messer joins the club fully of Tony and Smith in terms of that top tier. I know some people kind of differentiate them, but in a full PPR league, like Messer's volume is second to none in terms of what he's going to get this year. So that's my answer on that. And let's see. Darren Etheridge says exactly just like you said, those James Madison players won't work at Indiana. P4 and G6 levels are totally different. That's a shot at people saying that, G6 players can't translate up to the Power 4. That's not what we said. One, a lot of those guys at James Madison came into the same system, which is what we were talking about with Oklahoma State, right?
Yeah,
that helps a lot. Two, a lot of them were older, right? They were in their 4th, 5th years of college, and so they're very experienced with the system, and they tend to already be, more built off a lot of their strength and conditioning programs many years in their college programs, no matter what program they're at. That's an advantage. And then, too, like I said, they really didn't kick off until about their 2nd year at the Power 4 level, right? Obviously, Indiana did well their 1st year, but in terms of the full ceiling of what that offense offered, we didn't see that until the 2nd year. So, all right, I think I'm caught up on questions. Like I said, guys, we're going to be going with questions all night long. So if you've got them, if you see a pick that comes off the board and you say, hey, I want you to talk more about this player, what do you guys think? Whether it's his value, whether you think we think they're going too high, or you just want us to break them down even further because you've just never heard of that player, let us know in the chat. So, Matt, talk about your 6th round pick there, Jamari Johnson out of Oregon. I will say this is real quick. I will say this is the latest I've seen Trades Green go in quite a while. I've seen him really creeping up some boards recently, where he's been taken in like the 4th round. So him coming down here to the 6th round, I'm a bit more okay with, and especially with him being in the same tier as Jamari Johnson, I think I'm a bit more okay with that because he was starting to separate a little bit more. But did you take that Johnson pick because of the Green pick, or do you think this is just the value where these guys should go?
I thought about forcing Green actually at 5.5. Again, we talked about it off the bat. I do like to try to start runs if I can, just kind of push some other positional value down. But I got so caught up in deciding between those 3 wide receivers, I had to pick one of them at that point. So I was actually ready to take Green off the top of my queue, and the pick just progressed quickly. So Jamari Johnson was there, and I am willing to jump pretty quick. Like once Trades Green is gone, I want Jamari Johnson because I do consider it a pretty decent step down from there. I like knowing, I've got one of the top tier tight ends. I like knowing I have one of the top tier quarterbacks, right? And then I don't feel that pressure to, smash that position, around 9, 10, 11. I can really build depth otherwhere.
No, totally fair. And like you said, especially with quarterbacks, we're in that range now. We're right about the 7th round. We're about to see a lot of guys come off the board. Just straight up. Like this is the range where a lot of people have identified, like 7 through 11 is where you'll start seeing, especially for people like me, like Harp, like Sully there, Andrew. Like there's 4 of us right here that have not taken a quarterback, and I would not be shocked at all if the next 3 picks here in front of me are all quarterbacks. Right? Because everybody's starting to identify that, again, that run can really start at any moment here. Actually, you're on the clock. So.
Yeah, I was thinking about quarterback. Let's see here. But which one? That is my challenge here. All right, I am going to... I'll follow consensus ranks here. Always follow your own board. Go for a little upside here with Byron Brown. Same system. Again, we're following system. It helps me feel a little bit more confident going with the G5 to P4 promotion, G6 to P4 promotion.
Gotcha. Yeah, like you said, if you got the base floor play there with Manning, if Brown works out, that's an incredible duo quarterback. And I think this is like you should be drafting Brown as a QB2. His ADP I think is like QB10, which means a lot of people are drafting him as a first rounder. And to me, that's just way too much, or not first rounder, a first quarterback for their team. And to me, that's just way too much risk. Speaking of risk,
you got the FAU stack right there from March Madness. Very nice.
That's pretty wicked right there. Really thinking here again. I don't want to hold off quarterback too long, but I am probably.
You could stack. You got a stack on the board.
Do I? I'm not taking Hoover this early. I think he's been going too early for my taste, regardless. But I'm going to take somebody who's top 15 quarterback last year. Again, I've been drafting a ton of him. Like, really, like I think the most in this range, the quarterbacks I've drafted the most have been Mateer, Reed, and one other quarterback. That if he's here at 8-4, I will almost certainly be drafting him.
Double tap it. All right. Which is funny because if you think about Marcel Reed, John Mateer, just in terms of play style, what they're offering, they kind of fall into a similar bucket where you can see folks, just backing off of them just because of the volatility there. But, when it clicks, it clicks.
When it clicks, it clicks. And again, this is the best ball format. I'm not trying to predict exactly when they're going to go off.
It's true.
Right. And
that's a really good point.
Mateer, I kind of get because, like I said, he finished QB 52 last year.
Yeah,
so you can point to that and say like, oh, he's not worked out already. Marcel Reed was QB 14 last year.
It just felt gross.
it feels a little gross, but as Chris K and Ethan Sowers say on Ball with My Bestie all the time, we don't need them to be good. We just need them to score.
There you go.
Right?
That's a really good point.
And so again, Reed certainly falls into that camp. Again, we'll see how it goes from here. Let's see. We got another question from Neil Bardison. Says, "Howdy, fellas. What are your general thoughts on the Mountain West teams' run games since the big boys were replaced by weaker teams?" Matt, I'll let you answer that question. What are your thoughts on the Mountain West teams this year?
I'm not sure I'm reading this question correctly. Are we talking about like Mountain West running backs we're willing to target? Is that the crux of the question here?
I think the crux of the question is, do we basically like the Mountain West, the big boys of the Mountain West have moved on to the Pac-12, right?
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
And they're replaced by weaker teams. Do we think that leads to there being more opportunities for the running backs in that conference because the defenses on average that they're facing now aren't as good?
Yeah, well, I've definitely, unless he came off the board already here, I do like DJ Scott. That is somebody who I've been targeting in those like mid rounds, the North Dakota State guy. Great. Yeah, he's not off the board. There he goes, right out of my queue. Next few picks. I do like Telly Johnson. I've been getting a decent amount of Telly Johnson, but I don't think that's a secret anymore, right? He's going pretty quick. I think even Mike getting him at 4.3 is a good value. Although I think he chairs the Telly Johnson fan club, if I'm correct. So
that is correct.
I think those two guys are nice. And then
Mike, you know what you did, Mike. Regardless, I probably wasn't going to draft him anyway. I'm gonna double tap quarterback here. I'll go Avery Johnson.
Was that the guy you wanted? It must have been, right?
Yeah, that was the other quarterback that I was looking at, because to me, like, every quarterback afterwards starts getting some more question marks.
Feels gross that, I mean, Avery Johnson, he fits right into there, but feels gross, but can easily be productive.
Easily be productive. Anyway, continue your point.
No, I mean, that's it. The only thing I was going to add on top of that, he's not a running back, but I'm a huge Liam Zarka guy because he's basically a running back playing for Air Force, and I think they could easily run through their schedule this year.
Oh yeah, no, there's a reason why Zarka for the early part of the offseason, like if he made it to like the 6th, 7th round, he was just an auto click for me.
Yeah,
like, it was just insane the value you were getting him at. Now that value's gone. He's going up a little bit higher now, but he deserves to. Like, we have him as a top 3 quarterback in our rankings, so he should be going pretty early.
Nice. I like that.
Jamian7740 says, who goes first between Bryce Underwood or Malik Washington from Maryland? If they're still there on the board. I mean, I think you still got to go Underwood. Don't get me wrong. Underwood this offseason has quickly turned into one of the ickiest picks at quarterback, it feels like, because there's just been hardly any good news coming out of that Michigan camp about his performance in the spring game, his performance in the spring camp. But at the end of the day, if you're looking at those two offensive systems, one is Mike Locksley, which is solid, right? Malik Washington was, let's see, what was Malik Washington last year? He was, where are you, Washington? He was QB 48 as a true freshman starting. So already you feel like you got a pretty safe floor there with Malik Washington, right? But I also don't think you have much of a ceiling either, right? Maryland's going to struggle in a lot of their games. They're going to score a lot less than a lot of the other Big Ten teams. Meanwhile, Underwood's playing for Jason Beck, who has produced very good quarterbacks for us over the years. We know Underwood can run, so he fits into that system on that front. I think that, again, it depends on what you're looking for there, Jamie, but I think really I'd say 8 out of 10, maybe even 9 out of 10 times I would be taking Underwood still before Washington. Do you agree with that, Matt?
I just really like Malik Washington. If you look at his drop rate last year from his wide receivers, it was so bad. Not saying that we can assume there goes DJ Scott. Come on, man. Not to say that you can bank on the Maryland wide receivers getting better. I was just looking here. We've got in our consensus rankings Washington 35, Bryce Underwood 37. So they're right next to each other. You're talking about Big Ten quarterbacks, tough schedules, but I do think Washington is an underrated guy on the ground. So I could see him production-wise taking a nice step forward there this year, just to give the other side of the argument.
No, and I totally get it. Like I said, I think between the two, Washington's the floor play for sure, right? Because things can fall out for Underwood so quickly if this kind of stuff continues into the fall, right?
Yeah.
And he's just not performing. He could get benched. I do not see Malik Washington being benched, just straight up. Like,
no chance.
No chance. That entire coaching staff is riding on Washington. They are gonna live and die by that pick. Versus Underwood, yeah, he was a former number 1 quarterback, and Michigan paid a lot of money for him to come there, right? But that was a previous coaching staff, right? Yeah. They're not going to feel as tied to him as another coaching staff would, especially since there's plenty of rumors going around the Michigan boards, right? That if Underwood doesn't work out this year, they just go grab Devin Dampier out of Utah next year, and they just roll with a guy that knows the system.
Well, and I think too, what would worry me, even more than the, potential, benching at the quarterback position or future years with Bryce Underwood is that the running backs are just really talented. Oh
yeah,
I'm a big Jordan Marshall fan, and if Savion Hyder is 60% of what the hype train thinks he's going to be right now, then, they don't even have to necessarily bench Underwood. It could be like a soft benching, right? And, he could, and we've seen it with Whittingham, he could bring Underwood down to 18 or 20 passing attempts a game and just kind of use him as a little bit of a mobile quarterback. That's probably really scary for Michigan fans to hear, some bad like Alex Orji flashbacks, but it's not outside of the realm of possibility.
Let's not get too crazy here. Underwood might be having a rough spell right now. I do not think we can say he's going to be as bad as Alex Orji was. I
just said flashbacks, just flashbacks.
Okay.
I like to keep folks on their feet. All right. Let's see here. I'm back up. What do you think of the Nick Harbor? I struggle with Nick Harbor.
What do I think of Nick Harbor? I think you should leave him on the board.
Don't draft him.
Don't draft him.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. No, he just came off 9-3. I just
never mind. My bad. Yeah. I thought I was trying to convince you not to pick him so that I could pick him in 6 picks.
Oh, you like him? Okay, because of the scheme change.
He's been a deep Kendall Briles has really done well with the outside wide receivers recently, and Harper's going to be that guy. I don't really see anybody else on South Carolina really stepping up in that big role. I think this is finally the year he kind of puts it all together. He's been a big play threat for that offense for a while now, right? So now let's give him, 75, 80, 85 targets on the year, and let's see what he does with that rather than sticking with him only getting 60, 65 targets on the year. I think he could blow up big this year, and I actually really like that pairing there with Keto, with Jeremiah Smith and Harbor. I think if you're going to wait on wide receiver after taking Smith that early, that's a pretty solid guy to grab.
Yeah, I get it. It's, it's sometimes it's so tough. You're like, I understand. I know it works out on paper, but just buying into this USC offense, taking a big step forward, it makes me nervous.
Yep, I totally get it. And again, it's the whole, like, I think it was Justin Heisey earlier was like saying that, like, are we really doing this again with Nick Harbor? And honestly, I get the frustration. I get it, man. It is one of those things though where I'm sitting here and I'm just like, I'm willing to take the shot because again, wide receiver is such an unknown this year. So I might as well take the shot on a guy that's gonna potentially be getting 18 yards per catch and be getting, it wouldn't take much for him to get to 1,000 yards. All right, running back starting to dry up here. I only got the 3, so might as well take a guy. And yes, let's see who called it back at the beginning. Michael, was it Michael? Was it you, buddy? Who said, "Yep, Jared will be targeting C.J. Miller." Well, that's exactly what I'm going to do here at the 9-9. I love C.J. Miller. I've explained it plenty of times on this show, but he was great at Mercer last year. He's going to be the RB1 for Mike Jacobs in that offense this year again. His speed's absolutely insane compared to what the MAC normally faces. I think there's a shot that he could just completely blow up the MAC this year. So if I got 2 guys in Davison or Riley where they're kind of going up and down week to week, I want to grab a guy like Miller where I feel like I'll be getting production out of him every single week. So
very nice. I took Frazier too to kind of force your thoughts on him. What do you think is he going to be able to get enough volume, you think, in the offense this year?
Not with Bowen still there. It's going to be he'll be the main guy, don't get me wrong. Like he'll get the majority or he'll get the most carries out of that backfield. But as long as Bowens is still there, you're not going to see him get more than 18 touches in a single game. Much of the frustration of a lot of Georgia fans, right? Because again, he's probably our best player on offense, and the offense should probably run through him. But that's just never how it hasn't been since DeAndre Swift that we've had a true workhorse back. And even then, we were seeing the frustration of that when defenses, all they did was just key in on our workhorse back and force our quarterback to pass. And love Gunner, but that's not a situation we want to get in again this year.
Right.
I'm on the clock here. I took Miller. I could take another running back here, but again, wide receiver's about to dry up a little bit. And I haven't gotten a lot of shares of this guy this year, so I'll take my boy Carlos Hernandez. Not for lack of trying that I don't have a lot of shares of him this year, because I do love Carlos Hernandez. I love what he can do at Wake Forest this year. I love what he can do as a wide receiver 1 in that Rob Ezell system there. So if I can grab him now as my 4th wide receiver after taking the 3 that I took earlier in the draft, I feel really solid about my wide receiver room. It's this running back room that very quickly I'm looking at and saying, I probably need some things to go right for me here. Let's see, any more?
I think we got another question in here.
Yeah, Frog Fan says, what positions should I prioritize? I pick 11 in a 12-team league with 2 quarterbacks, 3 running backs, 3 wide receivers, 1 tight end, and 3 flex, and 1 super flex. So start 3 quarterback, basically. PSA for everyone out there, super flex, in my opinion, in college fantasy is a useless position because you're just going to start a quarterback there 9 out of 10 times. Just make it an extra quarterback spot. Like there's just too many of them in college fantasy to not play a quarterback. But that's just my opinion. Okay, so most starters I've played with, and it's no PPR, and it's half points for first down. Frog Fan, I would say that if in a standard format, especially drafting late in the first round there, I think you got to go running back. Like if you're just talking about in general, what are you targeting? And if in a standard format, again, look at what we were getting here at the end of the first round up here, right? You got Isaac Brown, Deshaun Bishop, Jaden Baugh, Darius Taylor, Will Henderson, Cam Cook, Lucky Sutton. Like if you're at the end of that draft and you grab 2 of those running backs, that's a great start. I don't think you'd be much happier in a standard format. Similar thoughts, Matt?
Took the words right out of my mouth.
All right, you took King Miller here.
Yep.
Wayman Jordan comes off a 9-7 a round before here. Sell me on King Miller here. Because obviously Jordan's injury is a concern, But now I'm kind of getting to the point where I'm seeing a lot of Deshaun Rideau hype, right? And for those that don't know, that's the true freshman going in there. And man, like if you look at his highlights from spring camp, you can just tell Rideau moves different. And if I'm a King Miller fan and I'm drafting him, I'm hoping not only does Jordan stay injured, because I think if Jordan's healthy, he's the main back. But I'm also now hoping that Rideau does not continue this streak that he's got going on. So how are you navigating that dynamic here, Matt?
Yeah, I like Miller over Jordan. If you look at the efficiency when he was on the field last year, certainly has a nose for the end zone. And then, again, right, it's the injury, it's the health, it's going in there knowing that you're probably the lead back week one. I don't know if I'm ready to get there with the freshman, being able to make a significant impact into the workload. I think what we often see from Lincoln Riley is he starts like the super athletic, talented guys on special teams, and they work their way up there over the course of the season. So it's more crowded than I want it to be, but there's no perfect backfields at this point, right?
No, I mean, I agree, right? Like between the three of them, they all have their warts. One's a true freshman, one's injured, and one's a former walk-on that only got work last year because everyone else was injured.
Right.
Right. No, he performed well when he went out there, right? But I think it's also one of those things where there's not really like a financial incentive to play Miller compared to like a guy like Rideau, right?
Yeah, that's fair.
By the way, Neil, you said Jet Thomas still on the board is insane. He is not still on the board. He was picked there at 3-4. If he was still on the board at this point, I would be sitting here questioning my credentials and being like, how did I miss that he's still not taken off the board? Eric says, by the way, Sully 48, who's being picked here at the 7th spot, finished top 10 in the Tadpole Bowl last year, and he played him in the finals for the Winning Edge 20-team Dynasty League. He's a legit CFF OG and dog. So,
nice.
we got a great lineup here tonight.
Awesome.
Woo. Again, I'm not shaming anybody. But Kyler Casper here at 11-3, I don't know if I would. One, I've not seen him go this early in any drafts. I also he wouldn't be the first BYU wide receiver I would go after. Because I'm a bigger believer in JoJo Phillips. And I would honestly, I'd rather take the shot on the true freshman Legend Glasgow for all the hype he's getting out of spring. For him to kind of earn a role here. Matt, do you have any thoughts on that BYU wide receiver room?
I'm going to be completely honest. I do not. Not a group I'm super familiar with. I'm going to be honest with you there.
All right, what do I want to do here? I'm about to be back on the clock. Good. There's some good players at this position that I haven't attacked too aggressively, so I think I should still be okay. By the way, great pick there, Sully, with good again, waiting that long on quarterback and getting Kevin Jennings and Keelan Russell. That's a great start to a late quarterback build right there. I'm going to chance it. I'm going to chance it on this position, and the could go running back or wide receiver here. Yeah, I think I'm going to go wide receiver here. I want to take Reed Harris. Amarian Miller came off at the 10-10 spot, and again, Matt, I'll ask you your opinion on this Arizona State wide receiver room. But for me, the strategy has just been, as soon as one guy comes off, whether it's Harris or Miller, I'm just going to take the second one. Right, as soon as Miller comes off the board, Harris shoots up my queue. As soon as Harris comes off the board, Miller shoots up my queue, and I'll just take the second one. So, your thoughts on the Arizona State wide receiver room? Do you have a favorite between the two? What are you thinking?
I love Harris. It's Harris for me. And, I mentioned this earlier. It is tough for me sometimes as a guy who does most of his, content watching film and trying to separate those things. But I was watching like Lewis Bond for Senior Bowl tape last year, which would have been a waste of my life, except for I saw Reed Harris just absolutely dominating. And then you think about, an inexperienced quarterback. He needs like a top X guy safety net. I think Harris is going to be, really, I like Miller. I get it. But I think Harris is going to be the more traditional X in this offense. And I'd rather have that upside.
See, to me, it's a deal where I actually think, I really think that there's a I think there's a really good chance that both Miller and Harris are really solid for CFF this year. I think there's a shot that both of them get 80, 85 targets, and they're both so efficient with their touches because they're both big, deep plays, or excuse me, both big, deep threats, and get a lot of those big plays that I think you can feel really good about. It might go back and forth. It might be a flavor of the week thing for that offense, which obviously very, very frustrating for people in like redraft, but for best ball, I'll take it all day long. All right, quarterback did me good there. Braxton Woodson coming off at 12-2, hurt my soul, but I got plenty of shares of him. A guy I don't have a lot of shares of and is a pretty solid floor play at quarterback is Mr. Owen McCowan.
Nice.
Not much else to say outside of just he's been good to us last couple of years. Not really a guy that I'm picking here to be a potential top 10 quarterback or anything, but a guy that I know is going to get me a solid 20, 23 points every single week. He'll have his spike weeks here and there because he plays in the American. I think I'm feeling pretty good there with him as my third quarterback off the board.
Just reading Felix's comment in the chat.
Yeah, everyone in this chat only has 6 fewer career FBS receptions than Kyler Casper. That's over 4 seasons. That's kind of my point with Casper. Don't get me wrong, like I think that I think there is some upside just because he's a big dude, but guess what? So is JoJo Phillips. Right. I mentioned this on CTN last week. Like the entire receiving core for BYU this year. I know you said you didn't think about it much, Matt. But what the fun fact is, they might have the biggest starting receiving core in FBS next year, dude. Like because like Kyler Casper's like 6'6". I think Phillips is like 6'5", and then the two tight ends are both 6'4" and above. So it's like they're just gonna have big targets all over the field for Bear Bachmeier next year.
That's fun. That BYU team is going to be fun.
For sure.
All
also,
right,
Jamian says, I'm working on freshman projections, so we'll have an idea of what a freshman expectations could be from a production standpoint. Jamian, I will be highly, highly interested
that's great.
That product whenever you get that out. So, Matt, you're on the clock here at 12-8. What are you looking at here, man?
Thinking about taking my QB3, but I'm pretty light on wide receiver. So I'm going to go with the guy, he's in my sleeper range right now. I like Pagan out of Utah here. I think he slots in, with some really nice volume. Obviously, there's coaching turnover, but not really, right? Scheme's still there. Quarterback's still there. And, I know he's transferring in from Utah State, but I think he's going to be the top option.
Better than what you're describing here, Matt, because there is coaching turnover, right? Jason Beck goes to Michigan, but Kevin McGivern is the offensive coordinator, and guess where he comes from? Utah State. So Pagan's just following his coach here, right? And again, you look at the rest of that Utah wide receiver room, and, unless you're like the biggest Creed Whittemore fan out there, Pagan's kind of slotting right into being the number one guy for this Utah offense this year. And, do I think that's going to be like a crazy upside position? Probably not, but I think it'll be a really solid floor play, especially here. What is that? Your 1, 2, 3, 4th wide receiver, and Pagan was what wide receiver 38 last year, and again, I think he really turned it on in the second half. Let's see, yeah, or no, he kind of fell off a little bit towards the end. My bad, but at one point he was a top 36 wide receiver on the season, so. If you can do even something similar at Utah, then yeah, that's a great pick here in the 12th round. Miller made the buffs with him moving on. It's going to be a win for Miller. Okay, so Jamian's team Amari Miller over Reed Harris. So, all right, looking at it now,
I'd agree with that. Anybody who's getting out of Boulder is probably getting a W here.
Yeah,
a positive. Man, Felix, I'm sick of Felix on the turn here, man.
What a great pick, Felix. I'm being dead serious. I
know. I'm actually really annoyed. I was gonna take Stockton with the 12-8 instead. Dang.
Yeah, Stockton's frustrating because again, like a lot of pieces in that Georgia offense, it's really, really difficult to guess when they're gonna pop off.
Yeah.
But at the same time, again, best ball format, you don't got to do that, and so yeah, you're probably locking in. A top 36 quarterback pretty easily with Stockton there because Georgia runs him even more than they did Stetson Bennett or anything like that. And a dual threat quarterback in an offense that's going to score 35 plus points a game. You got to feel pretty good about it. I mean, Georgia does run their running backs at the goal line quite a bit, but Stockton will definitely get his. He had 10 touchdowns.
He's underrated on the ground, though. I mean,
he is.
Yeah, it really surprised me. Like when I was really digging into that profile, I was like, wow, that is much more than you think watching him live.
Oh yeah. Let's see. All right. Oh wait, I still don't have a tight end. That's an issue. That's a bit of an issue. Now that I say that, here
goes the run.
No, this row's about to be purple as hell.
I mean, at this point, you're kind of riding it out.
I could. That's kind of my thing. It's like I could wait, right? Like and just see what I can get. Like do the crazy like wait till round 28 and my last 3 rounds are tight end. Matt,
this chat's gonna make you pay for that though.
Oh, I'm sure they will. Matt, how many tight ends do you usually draft in leagues like this? 30 rounds. How many tight ends are you usually taking?
Probably 5. I mean,
wow.
So I really want to
4.
Yeah, I want to see how the board comes out. Like again, right? So I got Jamari Johnson early. I feel less pressure. When I miss on the top tier, I do feel more pressure because I think if you're taking below 5 points a game, I mean it's tough to make that up at the tight end position.
Mm-hmm. No, but like at the same time, we don't have 2 bye weeks this year, right? So we're not having to navigate that as much.
That's fair.
And so to me, I think that means like whatever you're used to taking, I think you can take 1 less. Now, granted, when you take 3, now you're really kind of putting yourself in a bind there, right? If one of those guys goes down with injury,
right,
things could turn on you very, very quickly. There's a player I really want here. Because I haven't gotten a lot of shares of him. And this is the latest I've seen him go. And I really want to take him. Could go... there's a couple... Let me actually load up the queue with a couple quarterbacks, because I got 3, but I probably should get my 4 here relatively soon. Called reverse psychology, ladies and gentlemen. I'm trying to force y'all to take quarterbacks.
Talking them off.
I'm trying to get them to go for a different position than the one I'm actually looking at here.
They're like, who are his guys? Or
maybe that was the reverse psychology, y'all. Maybe I did want a quarterback, and now I'm trying to convince y'all not to take quarterbacks. These are the thoughts we have at 9:00 at night on Sunday nights. I was
deciding between CJ Bailey and Jackson Arnold, so I like a lot of his picks.
That's a very I don't know what quarterback that is in this draft, but that's a bit more better of a value than I've seen Arnold being taken at recently. Okay, Andrew. I know you tried to snipe me there with Jamari Robinson, but I got plenty of shares of him. What I don't have a lot of shares of is this Ohio backfield and Duncan Broom there. Right. Obviously, Victor Rosa's an issue, right? But at the same time, those RB1s for Ohio, and yes, I know there's coaching staff turnover here, but it's the same system they've been doing for the last decade. They've been running tons of running backs last 10 years. I think they'll do it again this year. They convinced Brune to come back out of the portal. I think that he'll be their main guy this year. So, and let's see what can fall to me here in the 13th round. You know what I should do? I should remind everybody who's watching that if you have not already, make sure you're subscribed to the channel so you don't miss more of these future draft streams here. We try to do it every week leading up to the season. This year it's been a bit more, unfortunately, a bit more on and off just because of some family stuff for me this year. But I'm trying to put together some things to make sure we don't miss more weeks. We are going to be off the weekend of July 25th, but that's because we are all going to be in Canton for the Kings Classic Draft, which will have its own live stream. Right. So that weekend, y'all's homework is to watch that stream instead.
Yes.
But yeah, if you're enjoying this, make sure you leave a like. Make sure you share this with your buddies. Like, invite your buddies in. We're talking college football. We're talking college fantasy in particular, but we'll talk college football all day long. Like, we play this game because we love that sport. So if you guys want to just drop some regular college football questions, we're totally down to talk about that as well. This is a great way to introduce people to college fantasy because every one of these streams, we have 360 players off on the board, and that gives you a perfect way to learn about all these different players. So yeah, if you guys go ahead, if you guys are enjoying it, make sure you go ahead and leave those likes. Oh man, my boy Hollier off there at 14-2. I mentioned that I was missing tight ends. This group, man, this group
wasn't friendly to you.
But they didn't take everyone, and I'm going to take one of my favorite tight ends this year. I'll take Juice Vereen out of Colorado State.
Oh, nice.
And just roll with that. I feel pretty happy with that.
That's not bad for a tight end round 14.
That's what I was saying. That's what I'm saying. Like round 14, that's my first tight end off the board. I will take that all day long.
Yeah, and I'll say while you're talking about subs, I love the show, and I also just I'm a proud sub to Campus to Canton in general as well. So when you're talking about the mock draft tool, all the stuff you got coming out, like it's a great site. So everyone, should be subbing here and over at Campus to Canton. Two great resources.
Absolutely. And I don't think we've been trying to get that mock draft simulator up for a couple years now, and we just couldn't really figure out the way to get the coding right to get it to work. But now I really think we've got in a really solid spot where you're not just drafting against ADP, right? Because it'd be very easy to just plug in the ADP and that's the same order every single time, and you just draft against that. That's not what we wanted to do. We put in coding to where it is a different draft every single time, and that the draft results are pretty realistic, right? Like every player basically has a range that they go in, and where they end up on the draft board basically is almost like a distribution curve, right? Where there's they'll mostly go towards where their ADP is, but there's a kind of a range around that. And that range will change depending on the player. Like some players can have their ADP value, but they can go 20 picks ahead of that and 20 picks behind it. Other players, they have their ADP and they'll only go about 5 spots ahead or 5 spots behind because their ADP is a lot more consistent, right? Like that's the kind of stuff we put into that mock draft simulator, so that is, like I said, it's very, very it feels realistic while you're drafting against it. It's a different draft every single time. I'm very proud of that product. So again, if y'all have not already, go check that out. It's available at the lowest tier at campus2canton.com. We want to make it pretty accessible for everyone. So go definitely check that out. Matt, you just took Caden Lee here at Mizzou. Why don't you talk to us about him?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Caden Lee. I think the projection here is that he is going to be in the slot for Mizzou, and Eli Drinkowitz, that the slot is the X, and the X has been a very generous spot for production the last couple of years. Obviously you've got Luther Burden and, even Kevin Coleman last year, the touchdowns never really came through. I think that was more Kevin Coleman, but Caden Lee, I think solid production at Ole Miss. You put them in this situation, they might even throw the ball more than they were originally expecting to, although Roberts is still a good running back. So I think we're looking at a pretty nice volume spot for round 14.
No, I definitely agree. And with Lee and the Austin Simmons connection as well, I think that helps him out quite a bit.
Yes.
My only thing is the thing that holds Lee back in my projections, because my projections are not kind to him, unfortunately. And the thing that really kind of sets him back. Where are you? Where are you, Caden? You know what? Control F is my friend. There he is. Yeah, so Caden Lee's down at wide receiver 118 for me. Sorry.
No, it's fine.
Again, I think the volume will be there. I think he'll get about 85 targets. The thing that really kind of holds him back is the fact that he's had a 3.7% touchdown rate.
Yeah.
Throughout his career. Again, he just does not get the touchdowns that you would expect him to get. Now, that's the most volatile part of it. And so, because my projections currently have him at, good Lord, 3 touchdowns on the year. So, if he can just get, 5, then he shoots up my projections, almost into the top 60 immediately. But that's also just the way wide receivers are, is that one touchdown could be the difference between you getting wide receiver 118 versus wide receiver 70.
Yeah, exactly. And you would hope that he would have a greater percent of his team's receiving touchdowns, right, at Mizzou compared to Ole Miss, where there's 4 guys who can stretch the field easily, right? And the scheme kind of demands that.
No, I would certainly agree. Although I would say don't underestimate Donovan Olugbade. Pretty solid true
I do
freshman.
like him. I do. I am a fan.
Pretty solid true freshman for them last year. I don't think it's outside the realm of possibility that Lee might play second fiddle to him. And then also, Brett Norfleet's obviously Brett Norfleet's going into his senior year here at Mizzou. You have to think that they're going to try to get him his sugar after all the good years he's provided for them. So I imagine he'll get plenty of touchdown opportunities.
Norfleet was a rookie big board darling last year. We hyped him up early. He helped out a lot of rosters.
I certainly believe that. All right, let's see. Brommer's a great pick there at 14-11. Good pick there. Oops.
Has anybody gone 2? Yeah, it looks like Plainsman here has 2 tight ends so far.
Yeah, Anderson's got Vanami and Hollier, which that's a great combo of tight ends right there. And Anderson said in the chat, he's like, I heard Hollier played wide receiver in the spring game. There's a decent shot that Hollier is a Tito this year.
Nice.
He played tight end for sure last year, but Georgia State loses Javon Robinson, who was set to be their wide receiver 1 this year. They obviously lose, oh my God, I can't remember, Ted Hurst. They lose Ted Hurst as well, so that's a big issue for them. And so, why wouldn't you take your best receiving option in Hollier and just have him basically play a big slot? Just lean into the fact he's one of your best receiving options and just give him the routes to do so. I've drafted a ton of Hollier this year. I think he could absolutely explode this year. He was a top 10 tight end in the second half of last year. And so I think he could carry over that. I certainly think he can carry over that momentum into this year. All right, Keto played it safe there. He took JoJo Phillips to pair with Kyler Casper there. Honestly, probably a safe play there. Because again, I think that I think Bear Bachmeier is going to throw at least 15 touchdowns, and I wouldn't be shocked if his top wide receiver gets 6 or 7 of those. So might as well take the shot on the 2 guys that makes the most sense would be the top guy. Who'd you last take, Matt? Oh, you just took Scottrey Humphrey, a disappointing running back for us last year, right? What do you think's different this year?
I think that, I've noticed that when you're a year early sometimes on a running back in particular for CFF, it tends to be that the process was right. You're just a year early is probably a better way of saying that. Same reason I took Gideon Davidson earlier, right? Where I thought it was all going to come together last year. It didn't quite come together. So I'm not afraid to go back to the process. And again, you're looking at the starting running back, right, at New Mexico. It's a weak strength of schedule. We saw that earlier. It's an offense that we, it's not a bad offense. I shouldn't say it's one we get super excited about, but there's enough there working for me round 15, running back 6, where I think we can put it together for Humphrey. And I've already, at this point, I've already gone full variance on running back, so might as well just lean into it.
Nope, very valid. Chris Barnes coming off there. Good pick. Do I want to lean into my wide receivers? Are definitely a lot of guys here that will continue to fall to me. Quarterback, though, 15th round. I'll take the shot on Lunch Winfield here. He's not my favorite quarterback. I don't think he's particularly that great. But if you look at what he was doing last year once he took over the starting job, let me take a look. Winfield.
He had a great finish last year.
He finished as QB 71, but he also didn't start for a good chunk of the season, right? So it was week 5 is when he started. So
in points per game, he's probably right up there.
Oh, points per game, he finished as quarterback 36.
20.4. Yeah.
But yeah, week 5 and on, he was QB 16. Now, I am concerned that he could very much fall into that category of he worked last year when, Walker Howard goes down and he was plug and play and he worked for that because defenses in the Sun Belt were caught off guard because they were expecting, statue Walker Howard, and now they're dealing with Winfield, who cannot throw a ball to save his life, but he's got dynamic legs there. Anderson. You got me back, Anderson. I took Winfield from you, but I was thinking about double tapping here with Hennikel as another upside play at the quarterback position, but that's a good pick. Running back. Let's see. How many do I got? I got 5 running backs so far. Which running back do I want to go with here? I do think I need to grab another running back here soon. It's been a while. Let me grab some Anthony Carey. I feel pretty good about him at Florida International. I think this might be a little early compared to what his ADP is. Actually, let me look. What is your ADP? Mr. Carey? No, I don't want to add a bookmark button. Okay, so Carey is RB 75, and he usually goes in the 18th round. Okay, so 2 rounds ahead of where he's been going. It's not too bad here. But yeah, I mean, KJ Owens surprised us a lot last year with how much workload he was able to get, and I'm not expecting Carey to quite do that. But even with my projections, right, if he's getting like 185 carries throughout the season, which is, about 20, 30 less carries than what Owens got last year, we're still looking at a pretty solid floor play at the running back position, so I'll take that shot with Carey. Okay.
What's your take on the Cal tight end situation here? Dorian Thomas came off the board. He's somebody I was initially excited about off the transfer portal, but the more I kind of chew on that offense, there's a lot of playmakers to go around.
I do not understand for the life of me why Thomas comes off the board before Mason Minnie. Mason Minnie is the incumbent in this tight end room, and he was solid for CFF last year. He was top 20 tight end for CFF. Like, I get it. Thomas was really good for New Mexico, but like, he's moving up in competition. He's going into a room where there's already a proven guy there. Like, it very much feels like that. Cal's going to run a lot of 2 tight end sets, which is probably going to eat into both of their production. So neither one of them ends up being great. Or Thomas is pretty clearly second fiddle as the younger guy behind the veteran in Minnie. So I don't get, to me, it's like you draft Minnie or you don't draft either of them. All right, I don't think I've taken a single share of Dorian Thomas this year. Similar situation here, not tight ends, but wide receiver rooms. I do want to hear your thoughts on this Auburn wide receiver room, Matt, because you took Byron Brown earlier, so you have that nice little stack here now. But If I'm let's see. Okay, so Keyshawn is already off the board, so I was going to ask you about that. But yeah, what is it about Koger that you really like?
I like Singleton and Koger. They're really similar to me. I don't know who's going to end up being the top guy, and so I tend to just take the one that goes second. And I think I was pretty patient on Koger this time around. So what's that? A 3-round difference between the two of them?
Yeah, we're Singleton. Yeah, 13-3. Yeah, so 3-round difference, but 3.5 round difference.
I also don't hate like a much later shot on Nimrod. I think he's totally in play as well.
My concern is that I do think that offense could be one of the ones that doesn't translate super well, at least in year one. Yeah. And that could definitely lead to a lot of heartache there. It's a lot of movement, and I think that's why, you have to invest early in Brown. You really don't have to invest early in the wide receivers, right? So I'd say don't force that early for sure. No, yeah, no reason at all. And what is that? Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 wide receiver off the board. That's fine. Once you're in that range, I think it's fine to take shots there. Felix, great pick with Cam Edwards there. What a great trio of running backs he's taking shots on there. I don't know if I'd ever want to have 2 triple option running backs on the same team. I think that might be a little risky because it's so easy for those teams to just switch the guy that they're favoring. Right? Again, we think we know, we've seen it with Air Force how many times now, Matt, where we think we know who the guy is going into the season. It turns out to be a totally different guy, both at the quarterback and at the running back position. So that was definitely of concern. God's Power, I think will be the RB1 for Army. I'm not too worried about that one, but just having both of those on the same team, maybe I wouldn't be super stoked about. But there are far worse plays that you can do. I've seen this a lot as well. Kind of going back here, this Dalen Smothers, Raleek Brown double tap. Are you a fan of that, Matt? Or are you Because like to me in the past, like usually double taps I'm willing to do if they're later, but obviously you got to pay up for that double tap. What do you think?
It feels more palatable in a best ball, right? I think talent wise, Smothers to me is much more talented. I think he's a better runner inside, and I think Brown's better in space, but I think Smothers is just as good of a pass catcher. So when I'm choosing between the two, I go for Smothers. I wouldn't double tap on a normal draft, but best ball, I'm all right with it. And 10-11 isn't as high as I've seen those two go.
All right, let's see. Sorry, I got a text from my fiance. I gotta pick her up from the airport after this. I'm making sure she's all right. Let's see.
Keep the draft moving, people.
Yeah, get the draft moving, y'all. We're only
Oh
halfway
wait, that's
through.
to me. That's to me.
Yeah,
as well.
you're on the clock. What are you doing,
I'm on the
Matt?
clock. I'm talking to myself here. I don't have a ton of Fafita, but I'm very interested in him this year. So
I mean,
I'm gonna take him for variance.
You got Seth Dagey, who's an air raid guy running the offense, right? So that helped out Fafita last year. Fafita was pretty solid for CFF at times. It's his senior year. We've seen that a ton with senior quarterbacks where they may not have been great up until that point, but the coaches know, hey, you like, especially a guy like Fafita who's been with the same program now for 3 years.
Yeah.
Like, they're going to want to reward him in some way, shape, or form. So I would not be shocked at all if he's one of these surprise senior quarterbacks that just throws 35, 40 touchdowns because, that running back room is not super great there at Arizona, right? They got Kedrick Riscano. Was it Quincy Craig is the other one they got back there? It's like, that's not a running back room you're typically loving. And so I think it wouldn't shock me at all if we see it wouldn't shock me at all if we see Fafita just get a ton of the touchdown opportunities. I'm going to go a little off my board here. Just to pair this guy with an earlier guy I took, I'm going to take Sire Gaines here. Just double tap that Boise State running back room. If one of those guys goes down for whatever reason, the other one's going to go absolutely nuclear. And I think there's a decent shot that both of them could end up with 1,000 yards this season because we've seen this Boise State offense do that kind of stuff before. You really just look back at when George Holani and Ashton G&T were operating in the same system. So, like that upside play there with Mike right afterwards with Haas Haney, because that's this is fourth quarter. Like, good God, this quarterback room that Mike has put together here between Jackson, Taylor, Creel, and Haney. Good God, that is if three of those four guys work out for him, that's gonna be hard to beat. I think that's the kind of room that could end up winning this. Like, no matter what else you picked here, like, my God, well done, Mike, well done.
I like that round 9 Creel. That's a guy I've been trying to target a lot in that range.
Mike's been taking a lot of guys that, like, I draft a guy at like the 9 pick, and then he picks the guy I wanted right afterwards. So like, like I took Miller, he took Creel. That sucked. I took Harris, he took Roberts. That sucked. I took Brood, he took Reynolds. That kind of sucked. Although I was happy with the Vereen consolation prize. And then like Sire Gaines here, I didn't have Haney in my queue, but as soon as he picked him, I had instant regret.
There's some folks you just don't want to line up next to on the draft board, man.
Oh, trust me. Me and Chris Battisell in more than one draft have drafted right next to each other, and it is both super fun and also super infuriating because we know how the other person drafts. And so we are constantly sniping each other. All right, coming back to me.
I think if I remember last year King's Classic, I think me and John were 1 and 2, and it felt very similar. So hopefully we're spread out this year.
All right, I'm back on the clock here. I think I'll go wide receiver here, or maybe quarterback. Yeah, I'll go quarterback. My fifth quarterback.
We got a bit of a
here.
run going on quarterback here.
I'll do Michael Hawkins here. He's my fifth quarterback here. Again, Rich Rod quarterback. If Hawkins can get me 80% of what Tyler Huff was doing a couple years ago, I'm more than happy with that as my fifth quarterback. And now I feel I think I can sit back on the quarterback position from here on out and just take an upside guy, I think, towards the end of the draft, because otherwise it's like I'm pretty set at the position. One of the guys I was considering, though, was also DJ Lagway, and that lines up with our next question here from Neil. Neil Bartison says, thoughts on the Baylor offense? If Lagway comes to form, it could open up a few of the positional players. So, Matt, I'll ask you, Baylor offense, have you given much thought to it, and who could be the wide receivers that benefit?
Well, DJ Lagway is in my queue, so shout out to that question there. You've got a pretty good amount of vacated production, right? With Cameron heading off to the NFL, Trigg heading off to the NFL. So probably Draylon Miller as the top guy in the offense. Right? That's probably my top target there. My question is whether the running game is gonna get put together. If you go back like a season and a half, that was looking excellent, and it seems like they've just never been able to get it back to shape, to that like top tier Bryson Washington era. So it's not an offense that you invest in with a ton of confidence at this point.
I will plead the fifth on that running game for right now.
Oh, he's coming back to it. He's coming back to it.
The wide receiver situation is the major question mark, right? Because Lagway's got talent. I think that if you put him in a situation with, Jake Spavital, and you give him the opportunity to throw it, 40 times a game like Sawyer Robertson was doing last year, you're going to feel pretty good about that. But who's he throwing it to is a legitimate question here. I am not a big fan of Draylon Miller. I called cap on him last year when people were hyping him up for Colorado. Yes, I am a Gen Zer. I will use slang like that sometimes. But again, I called it out last year. I said, I don't care what the spring hype is on Draylon Miller. I am not drafting that man. And I was right not to. And some people are, like you said, Matt, some people are projecting him as the top option in the Baylor offense. I'm not buying it. I am not buying it. I am going to be buying potentially Gavin Freeman. I think is kind of interesting. He's been hanging out at Oklahoma State. It's been pretty solid for them as a veteran presence in that wide receiver room. I do not for that particular wide receiver room, but for just the Big 12 in general. I think he's actually being underrated by a lot of people. And then Lewis Brown the fourth, he's got the issues he's had with getting kicked off of Colorado State and stuff like that. But he's the top returning wide receiver for Baylor from last year. He didn't do much, but I'd still rather take a shot on him than Draylon Miller, I think. But
I think it tells you something. I was just checking their ADP here. I mean, they're all in the 330s in ADP, all three wide receivers. So the short answer probably is nobody, right?
But if you're throwing the ball 40 times a game, you have to think somebody's going to benefit from that, right? Otherwise, we're talking about a major shift in the offense where they're running the ball a whole bunch, and that's the question of who benefits from that. Maybe we'll find out.
That's what Florida did, but that might have been a DJ Lagway problem more than anything.
I mean, he's the quarterback here, so.
Yeah, it's true. But I mean, Lagway is 17 fantasy points a game being, oh man, LJ Phillips comes off the board. That's a tough one. That's one of my sleeper guys. I thought I had another couple rounds.
Is he a post-hype sleeper? Because he was going round 10 earlier this offseason. And then it's one beat reporter said, nah, Moulton's the guy, and everyone quickly backed off of Phillips there.
Yeah. I mean, again, this is from the scouting lens. Phillips, I think, is the real deal. I think he's legit. I thought Moulton was okay last year, right? And Iowa's going to have two running backs, right? That's the prerequisite. So, but I haven't seen him going quite this high, but now I'm regretting my patience.
For sure. You're on the clock now, so what you looking at here?
I was going to go Victor Snow, but Felix is doing his thing here and making good picks. So we'll go Yannick Smith.
Alrighty. Again, Ymir came off the board a lot earlier.
Yes.
People drafting Ymir are hoping for, the James Prochet treatment. And if you're drafting Yannick Smith, you're hoping for pretty much every other main wide receiver that Rhett Lashley's had. Most of them have been outside guys. So if you're playing the system play, you're going after Yannick Smith. if you're going after Yamir Knight, you're going after the fact that, you're being told, yeah, he's the wide receiver 1. And if that's the case, he could end up getting James Prochet levels of volume, which are, by the way, go back and look at what James Prochet did, and you can understand why people want to get their shots at Yamir Knight. He's somebody I'm trying to be a bit more aggressive about. So, but
Yeah.
either one I think is worth a pick.
Right. I mean, it's a situation here where you're looking at scheme. That's something where you can feed multiple mouths, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, like Red Lashley's not going to not throw the ball 35 times a game.
Right.
Especially with Kevin Jennings back there. Another guy that could blow up this year as the senior quarterback for that SMU offense. All right. Mike asked in the chat, that running game's going to be awesome for Baylor, Jared. Who is the starter? I'll take my shot at the starter here. Give me Dawson Pendergrass, a guy that was injured last year.
There you go.
Held out of the season. Yeah, Michael Turner and Caden Knighton come in as true freshmen. Tried to hold down the fort with Bryson Washington getting injured as well. All reports have said Pendergrass is that guy for Baylor this year, and we've seen the top running back for Baylor be really, really solid under Jake Spavital and Jeff Grimes, and really just under Dave Aranda, right? So, what is that? That's my 8th running back here. I'm happy with that. I am so happy with that. Wide receivers, man, it's starting to get to where I complained about this on CTN last week, where I said that normally your strategy is in the early rounds you're not differentiating as much because you're going after your guys that you think are going to be top performers, and it's like as you get later in drafts you're wanting to differentiate a bit more because the reason why guys are going later is because there's a lot more risk with them. I don't know about you, Matt. I feel like I could just get stuck drafting a lot of the same guys, especially at wide receiver later in drafts, because I think there's just such clear value with so many of them. And there's one, Dabs. Like I would have taken Dabs like 4 rounds ago, but like I've just gotten so many shares of him that I'm like I gotta hold off a little bit, right?
You need variance, yeah.
Good pick there with the double stack with San Jose State. I don't know where the Anthony Ivy hype is coming from. That's one I still can't figure out where what note was given where that Ivy was like a legitimate shot. But McClure, I definitely saw some hype coming out of spring as little information as we get out of San Jose State, right? Carson Clark's another one. If I double tap the San Jose State wide receiver room, I'd go McClure, I'd go Carson Clark. I'm going to go wide receiver here, though. I'm going to take Greg Gaines. He's a guy that I've been struggling to get a bit more recently. Used to be able to get him in the last 5 rounds of drafts, but pretty clearly it seems like he'll be the wide receiver 1 for Florida International this year. We just saw Alex Perry be a top 10 wide receiver in the second half of the year last year. It seems like they're going to run it back, and they're going to have a better passing quarterback with J.J. Cole running that offense, so I feel really good about Gaines. If not reproducing what Alex Perry did last year, at least getting close. And that's, again, my wide receiver 6. Totally happy about that. And I have, dear God, I just realized it's been almost 10 rounds since I drafted a wide receiver, so I've really held off on that position. My God.
There goes Hyder.
All right, we're entering the last, well, not quite the last 10 rounds of the draft, Matt, but what are you kind of looking for here? What are you thinking, looking at your squad, how many quarterbacks, how many running backs you got so far, how many wide receivers, how many tight ends, what are you looking for here?
Well, I just noticed coming up around the turn here that I've got just my one tight end, who I do really like, but it does feel like I need to give him some backup here. And I'll go ahead and I'll take the guy that we were talking about earlier in Chudzinski. So I said that I like Overmeyer a bit better than him, but I mean, Overmeyer went round. I saw him pretty early off the board there. So he went round 6. So round 20 on Chudzinski, not bad.
No, not bad. Overmeyer, again, I don't want to be calling out people in particular. I don't like being negative about picks. And
I do like Overmeyer though.
I like Overmeyer. I just don't know if I like him 6th round. Yeah. I need to see that translation work well. Obviously, Koziel translated well last year, but you're asking lightning to strike twice with
right.
that. And
we had proof
of
concept. We had more proof of concept with Koziel, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Kozio got like 100+ targets at Ball State, right? So like,
Right.
they knew he could handle that workload.
I'm not really drafting him, but I am interested in Colton Joseph at Wisconsin. Like, it's got me intrigued.
I mean, they're not gonna not run him,
Right.
right? It's just like my issue when I look at him in my projections is I don't know that this offense is gonna be good.
Well,
Like,
they're going to score, right?
That's the thing,
question.
right? Like, I've got him at 16 passing touchdowns, which is obviously not good. Now, I make up for that a bit with 8.5 rushing touchdowns, but it's still like you're still looking at it being. Well, actually, hold on. Never mind. I'm looking at an older. Did I? Wait, here we go. Sorry, that was my old projections. Is my new one any different? Yeah, so 16 passing touchdowns, 7 rushing touchdowns.
Yeah,
So,
that's
like,
not going to get it done.
Like, again, like, 7 rushing touchdowns is nothing to sneeze at, but again, 23 total touchdowns, like, that's gonna cap his upside quite a bit there, right? You need Jeff Grimes in that offense to really finally hit here in year 2. It's a better quarterback situation than what they had last year. I can tell you that much. I'm shocked that Luke Fickell didn't get fired last year, but I also don't blame Wisconsin because they get another year off that buyout, and also they realized last year if they fired Fickell, they were going to be like the 7th or 8th best job opening.
Yeah, who wants that job? Who wants the job that Luke Fickell can't do? You know what I mean? I mean,
yeah,
that's a tough sell.
Or again, Fickell might have been just overrated, but like I said, it's like you're getting the 7th or 8th best coaching option last year, and that's if you're lucky, right? That's if you make the right hire. I think Wisconsin was smart to just hold on to Fickell for another year, give him one more year, and if things go off the rails this year, they go off the rails this year. But at least the buyout will be not as painful.
You fire him week 6, you get a jump on the market. Yeah,
exactly.
Oh, Tristan Keys.
Yep, that's is that our first true freshman off the board? Because I haven't seen Henry come off the. Oh wait, Hyder. Duh, Hyder came off the board just a round ago. Oh, look at this tight end room that John's put together here. Carter, Hasley, and Lyons. My God, that's a ferocious tight end room right there. Well,
I like
well
Hasley
done,
a lot. I think he's a really nice value. I've been targeting him in this range.
He has, let's see. Remember correct, he's another one of these tight ends that broke out late last year. Like, he didn't have, like, if you look at just, like, him on the year, he's tight end 41. But
that last month or so.
I would say the last second half of the season, let's see. Week 7 and on, he was tight end 9.
Yeah.
So, he really turned it on in the second half of the season. And so it's like, I do fear about Carter this year. Because he's the opposite. He fell off in the second half of the season. He was like tight end 40 in like the second half of the season last year. So he could do well again this year, but unfortunately he's still in an offense where as much as Texas Tech's gonna score, they've got like 4 different options at wide receiver that they could roll with. And so like he could struggle to get the looks that he needs. All right, just based on what I'm looking at wide receiver, I think I gotta continue to hold off there. Tight end, yeah, I'll get Verena friend here. Question is, I'll double dip the. Oh no, Mike's gonna make me mad no matter what. I can tell you that right now. Like, I'm looking at 2 different guys, and whichever one I don't pick, he's gonna take. 20 seconds left. I need to keep it moving. Screw it. I don't have enough Cade Keith. I think Cade Keith might be better than what Dorian Thomas was last year. If you look at the advanced stats, he was more efficient than Thomas in a lot of ways. Now, granted, that might be because defenses were so focused on Thomas, right, that it kind of reduces Thomas's efficiency. And Keith, not being as ganged up on, he does pretty well there. God, Mike, you're not. No. Anderson. Anderson. No.
Yeah.
No.
I knew I should have taken him first.
No.
I don't understand why June is falling. Can you explain to me why June is falling?
Because people don't like Bill Belichick. I like it, or they just don't like the disaster that program was last year, and they're afraid that's going to happen again this year. I really think a lot of it had to do with the offensive coordinator. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, Freddie Kitchens was all right the year before, but things really went off the rails last year. And like, you bring in Bobby. Oh, well, it wasn't Mike that made me mad, but Will Rodriguez coming off. Okay, Anderson, I get it. You watch CTN. You're grabbing some of my late running backs here. All right, you're making me mad over here. You make my bad Boston accent come out here. All right.
Oh, hey, well, too close to home over here. I didn't know you were doing a Boston accent. If that makes you feel better or worse.
Probably worse. Let's grab a guy. Okay, my again, June and Petaway were the two running backs I was looking at here. Let's go ahead and grab another one that I haven't grabbed in a while. I'll grab some Coco Brown here.
Yeah.
I'm scared of Alton McCaskill, but again, last 10 rounds here, I'll take the shot that Coco Brown just continues the that Coco Brown continues what he was doing last year. I mean, Alton McCaskill was definitely a thorn in his side, but Brown, by every efficiency standard, was the better running back, and so I think he continues to build upon that. Well, McCaskill, unfortunately, I think Father Time fully catches up to this year. At least that's the bedtime story I tell myself when I draft Coco Brown.
What a journey, man. What an absolute journey for McCaskill. Oh, goodness.
Yeah, yeah. He's the poster boy of, you know, the players that get sucked into the system by Deion Sanders and then spat out.
I just spat right back out.
Right back out. As we enter these final 8 rounds, obviously, you know, things are going to get wild here as you know, ADP really does not matter here in the last 10 rounds. But if you guys are enjoying the content, again, I will remind you guys, make sure you hit the like button. I know there's some of you out there that haven't yet. I would appreciate it if you did. And so go ahead and do that. Appreciate it. There we go, Anderson. And let's get back to the draft here. Matt, homer pick.
Homer pick. You look at the last few weeks of the season for Ethan Davis last year. Clearly, something clicked there with Heupel and Ethan Davis. And normally, I do not go for a Tennessee tight end. It's not traditionally somebody who's used in the scheme. But I think if you watch the way Davis plays, it's much more similar to a wide receiver. So, and then if you look at the offense, I mean, you know, you've got Staley. Mike Matthews, we expect to take that step forward, but then is it Tristan Keys, right? Like there's not that obvious wide receiver 3.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Davis could be in line for, you know, even 50 targets would be really nice for a guy you're drafting this late.
No, I would certainly agree. I don't know if I have him projected for 50 targets, but it is, again, like you said, it is an interesting role that he's kind of getting there. I've got him at 35 targets, so not like anything crazy, fair. But you know, like he could be a serviceable tight end for you. Unfortunately, my projections don't have him hitting north 300. You would obviously like to see him kind of get into that 300-400 range. But like you said, if you know Mike Matthews doesn't really work out, Davis could end up being that bigger target for the younger quarterbacks there.
Yeah, and that's true. Young quarterback, I tend to like tight ends with young quarterbacks too.
Oh yeah, they almost certainly are looking for their big options to rely on. All right, not add him. They are liars. Liars. I asked for a player to be added because he was taken out in the last round. They assumed that he was done with eligibility. I asked them to put it back, and they're like, "Yeah, we put him back." I'm looking him up. He's not there.
Still there?
Not there.
I'm excited for us to have a clear view of eligibility soon.
Wait, say again?
I said I'm excited for us to hopefully have a clearer view of eligibility soon.
Oh my god, dude. I'm in the midst of like updating my dynasty rankings to try to reflect this, and I will say like going forward it is going to be so much easier.
Yeah.
So much easier at this point. Okay, I'm not a big Shelton Sampson guy like at all, but him in the 23rd round here is kind of crazy. That's like if you're just looking at his value compared to where his ADP has been, like that's a really solid pick by Felix there. And quite frankly, I probably should have just taken advantage of that and just to get a share of him because I just don't really have a lot of shares of him this year.
Does Felix have 10 wide receivers? Am I counting that right?
Yeah. Yeah, 10 wide receivers. I usually go for 10 wide receivers in these drafts. So I'm curious to see if he continues to load up at wide receiver. Mel Brown, great pick there by Keto. Good late running back pick here. I'm actually mad that I didn't scroll down and find him there. There's some pretty solid running backs here late.
There's definitely some options here.
Better than I was initially giving myself. Because I was looking at some of the same guys like Baxter at the top of my queue, and I'm like, here we are again. But I've got...
Hello, my old friend, yeah. Eric Singleton, I want Eric Singleton to work out. I'm not sure he will production-wise, but he's talented, man.
He's going back to the system that made him good in the first place, right? But even when he was at Georgia Tech, he was never really like that true CFF relevant wide receiver. Like,
yeah.
And then obviously at Auburn, he just completely crashed and burned, unfortunately. All right, taking Trey Cornice, that's fine. Do I want to take my last running back here? There's again, I got. I can probably take a wide receiver here. Or is there any tight ends that I want that I'm really desperate for here? Yeah, let's go ahead and just take Brett Norfleet. We were talking about him earlier. I need a power 4 tight end to kind of balance out the two G5 or G6 guys that I've gotten here recently, and then we'll see what kind of falls back to me here in the 24th round. I have a guy that I'm aiming for here, but I have a feeling that Mike's going to break my heart because Mike's been breaking my heart a whole lot here. Okay,
I kind of wanted him.
Not the two guys that I was going to have my heart broken over, but they were certainly in my queue. D.R.A. Rogers, I think, is a guy that gets a massive upgrade if Taron Dickens wins that starting job for Northern Illinois. And people should be drafting him a lot more. And then Brian Rose, a guy I've been drafting a whole lot in these last 10 rounds as well. Again, just go look at what Jay Coker did in this offense at Holy Cross a couple years ago, and you can understand why a potential wide receiver 1 in this system could work out pretty well.
Yeah, Rowe, I have been seeing a lot more chatter around him.
All right, Dub deuces on the clock. Oh, got a nice little stack there with Hauser and Clement. Dallas was another wide receiver I was kind of looking at in this range, but again, not the one I was kind of looking for. Mike! There's the heartbreak. That's it. We're done. End the stream.
Call it.
Yeah, no, I'll go ahead and take I'll take my last running back here. If Mike's going to break my heart at wide receiver, I'll go ahead and take Don Chaney Jr. here. Pray to God that Bryant Vincent offense gets back on track. Normally, we're sitting here and we've been saying the last couple of years, we've seen the last couple of years that we cannot trust who the top running back is in Bryant Vincent's offense or whoever's at the top of the depth chart. But I look at that UL Monroe depth chart, which, by the way, they still have not released their official roster. But based on what I can gather from CFP Winning Edge and CFP depth chart and stuff like that, I look at that running back depth chart. I don't know who else they're going to run the ball with. Legitimately, I don't think there's another option. There's no good freshman coming in this year. There's no solid transfer they've brought in. I think it's got to be Chaney or nobody else. So I'll take that shot here in the last 6 rounds. And with that, I am done with running backs. I will not draft another running back in this draft.
And I'm full tilt. I really wanted Junior Sherrill.
I would say you look legitimately mad right now. Your whole demeanor changed after that pick.
I was like, yeah, that's perfect. He's still here. Nope. No, he's not.
No, he is not.
It was a real 30-second roller coaster ride there. Now we're just refilling the queue here. Let's go. I'm a little, where are we at breakdown wise here? I'll go McClellan.
I kind of like that. Again, Evan Stewart, I get why people are targeting him, but that slot wide receiver in that Oregon offense has gotten plenty of volume the last couple of years. I don't see any reason why McClellan couldn't also potentially be the wide receiver 2 in this system.
Yeah, we've got some pretty good proof of concept. He popped a few times last season in his first year as a starter, so it tends to be a scheme that rewards year 2.
Ooh, interested in this. What is this? Cache Kaio. I'll have to look.
I like
on.
Isaiah Horton in this range too. Worth the upside.
Oh yeah, I mean, again, he'll be replacing Casey Concepcion there on the outside, right? Is Ashton Bethel Roman still on the board? Curious, because Ashton Bethel Roman, not a guy I'm going to draft in this draft probably, but like he's another one that I think Horton or him are both worth shots late in this draft, because we saw last year that Texas A&M can support 2 wide receivers if they funnel all their targets to those guys.
Definitely.
Chrome was a good pick there at Florida State. I'm curious to see if Fred also takes Wisner just to kind of lock up that backfield. Or do you what do you got a smile on your face, Matt? What do you think of that Florida State backfield? Is it one that you think is worth double tapping, or do you think you have your guy?
Well, it was between Wisner and McClellan for me. So I like Wisner a little bit more. I think we've seen the talent. Chroma has flashed. It's not necessarily an offense that I'm super excited about, but I do actually think I don't expect it to be like a 50-50 split. I think I like Wisner's talent a bit more.
Got it. All right, Felix, keep it rolling here, brother. I got not a plane to catch, but I guess I am the catcher. The plane's coming to me.
Gotta get onto the runway. One of those situations where you just walk right off the steps.
Exactly.
As long as you don't get fired on the runway.
Yeah, no, no being fired on the tarmac.
No good.
Turns out not a great thing to deal with. All right.
Turns out.
I think I'm gonna go wild with my next pick. It's like, why not?
Hey, it's round 25, man.
Round 25, and like again, this position, man, there's just so many good options that it's like, he doesn't work out, I'll target something else. All right, like I'm literally just loading up my queue with like tons of wide receivers right now, and I'm just like, all right, let's just see what we got here. Felix, if you're gonna run out the clock, brother, all right, I'm putting you on auto. Love you, Felix. Like that, I got a plane to catch, brother. All right, Fred's on the clock here. Again, I'm curious to see if he goes Wisner here.
I don't think he should.
You don't think
that'd
he
be a bad? Yeah, I think that'd be a really bad pick.
You think it'd be a really bad pick because you want him?
No, it'd just be a bad pick.
Oh yeah, for sure.
No ulterior motive. I'm not trying to influence the draft at all.
Speaking of influencing the draft and having thoughts, y'all, again, we're in these last 5-6 rounds here, but if you guys got more questions, like please drop them in the chat. If you guys got thoughts, let us know. Like again, we're here to hang out. Matt and I can talk about our picks all night long. That's totally fine. But you guys drive the show. This is y'all's chance to ask us questions. You see a player you want us to digest a little bit more, let us know. So, alrighty, y'all.
Yeah, give me anything. Any questions you got.
Matt, what product do you use in your hair?
What is it called? It's the blue puck. It's a blue puck.
All right.
It's an important question.
Very important question. Mine is hair dryer.
Oh, that's rude. That's rude.
Like I said, man. Like I said, they're vultures.
Absolutely relentless. All right. Jeez.
All right, here's a good. I'll let you make your pick here, Matt. What are you looking at?
I don't get the Parker Livingston hate. I just don't. I know Satang. I never say it right. Satania. I know Satania's the one, and I like Terrell Harris. But man, Parker Livingston was good last year.
Mm-hmm.
My only hesitation, I guess, is he's best in the deep field, and that is not where John Mateer is good. But still, I think he's wide receiver 2 for the Sooners.
I mean, if Harris's injury is worse than what we're being led to believe, right, then yeah, Livingstone's right there to benefit from that. So I think I do think it's a good Zag play, although Terrell Harris has not come off the board here, and I have half a mind to potentially take him here soon, just because again he's going late. But no, I got another wild pick in my mind here.
Ooh.
Yep, here we go.
Henry.
I'm gonna take potentially the one major cheat code in this year in terms of eligibility cheat code. I'm gonna go Davian Jackson out of Texas State here. Probably could wait longer, but again, somebody's got to run the ball there at Texas State, and he's the only running back in that room that's over 200 pounds and over 6 foot. That's a man built to take a good workload, and they have raved about him this spring. Now, they have not come out and said by any means that like he is the workhorse back or anything like that. But again, here late at the end of this draft, I could potentially get the number one running back in GJ Kinney's offense, and he's got wide receiver eligibility, so he plugs into that slot. Mwah, chef's kiss.
I dig it.
A couple questions here. A good question from Brett here. He says, what's the latest on the Illinois running back room? So I was hesitant to draft any of these running backs coming out of Illinois at the start of the season, but since Caden Fegan is moving to tight end, which clears up a lot of rushing attempts there, and Aiden Laffery is a Laffering stock. Yeah, there's a pun in there somewhere. He's not a good running back, and that leaves Khalil Valentine. And I do think that Khalil Valentine was really solid last year. I can't remember if he was a true freshman or a redshirt freshman last year, but you could very much tell that, like, among the running back room, he was probably the best one. And I'm not saying by any means he's going to get Chase Brown levels, but I think he can get to a point where he can be the clear number one back for Illinois. And anytime you can get that in a Brett Bielema system, you're flying pretty high. Do you have any thoughts on that Illinois running back room, Matt?
No.
No, that's fine.
I got nothing to add. Except I do keep Fagan in my queue because I like the dual eligibility. John has him high in his tight end rankings. I'm not quite there on him.
Brett Bielema the last couple of years has really done a lot of two tight end work. And it's been so long since we've seen any kind of like true tight end one come out of his system. That's the thing I'm kind of afraid of.
Right. It tends to be an offense that rewards your boundary wide receiver a little bit more, right? Mm-hmm. And then so that's. Am I forgetting? Is that Clement?
That's what we think, right? Like it's not really known exactly because Colin Dixon's also on the outside, so he could have some. He can certainly have his boom weeks here and there. So, all right, God, the wide receiver pool to pick from here this late is just so crazy. I'm like just add. Mike has a question for you, though, Matt. He said, Matt, talk about your Devi versus CFF rankings. JKS being ranked high by you is very interesting in CFF as a non-runner. I would agree with Mike. That's interesting to me because I've got JKS as my QB 58 in CFF.
Yeah, so I think my aggressive ranking of JKS is nearly 500 passing attempts last year. And then they loaded him up with talent on the outside. So I think, my Devi brain says we've seen a lot of talent with not much around him as a true freshman early in his development. And so I think where that would bleed into my projections is like being more willing to be aggressive on a ranking for him, saying, I can see where the clear step forward comes, right? If you're throwing the ball 500 times and you up that completion percentage 2%, and that leads to, a significant step forward. I mean, 18 passing touchdowns last year. I think I could easily see that getting to 25, 26. I'd be curious where you landed on that. The rushing is a problem, and certainly better in 6-point passing leagues. But so that's where those two would overlap, I'd say, Mike.
Yeah, I'd say so. My projections have JKS at 23 passing touchdowns this year. Okay. So I agree with you that there is going to be some positive regression on that front. My thing is, I don't think we can assume that 500 passing attempts is coming again. Right? This is a new coaching staff.
Yeah.
Right. And the play caller is a complete unknown. Right. It's Jordan Somerville, who's never called plays at the college level. He worked with the head coach back at Oregon. Can't remember the head coach's name off the top of my head. John, by the way, great pick with McKay Halstead.
Oh, is it me?
Yep, you were on the clock. But I would agree with Mike that, again, just with JKS just having basically zero rushing, it's hard for him to like. Where do you have him in your CFF rankings? I think I might have missed that.
Sorry, let me
good.
make this pick here.
No, not allowed actually.
Oh, that's tough. I don't love where my queue is at right now. What are we at here? All right, let's just go. Where'd he go? Where did
I
he?
don't
Oh, here he is. Sorry. The clock's
Right.
getting me around 27, man.
Yeah. But yeah, my question was, where do you have JKS in your rankings for CFF?
So let's see here. JKS. I've got him in a very aggressive spot. I think that's what Mike was referring to. So he's our consensus quarterback 25, but I'm pushing him up. I've got him at 14. So I know that's super high. I know. It's aggressive.
Yeah, again, that's part of the beauty of CFF is that we can have very different rankings.
Yeah, and I'm pretty comfortable being out there a little bit more aggressively. And again, it's a little bit different, right? Mike and you're putting together really full projections, and I've got the beauty of a consensus ranking with John to balance me out sometimes. But I do like to kind of move off of consensus where I can, not to be clicky or anything, but just to understand the variance in the game.
Yeah, no, yeah. No, again, I agree. Like that's part of the beauty of CFF is that we have such wildly different rankings. Like I've got guys in my top 25 that I'm pretty sure a lot of people have outside like their top 40, top 50. Like Quinn Hennicle comes to mind. Like to me, it's like a no-brainer. Like he's a dual threat quarterback in a system that's given us, Colton Joseph the last 2 years. Yeah, am I expecting to be Colton Joseph? No, but I'm happy to have him as like my second or third quarterback. Like especially if I can get him as my third quarterback, I'm totally happy with that.
And I think it's a good conversation too in general because I do full projections for NFL, and so I think it's really interesting the way that you have to approach, right? Like, what are the scenarios? What's the realistic range? And then at some point, right, you have to pick where you think that player is going to go in the range of outcomes, right? Like you can't just choose the middle every time.
Yep.
And so it becomes a really interesting process in that way of how do you arrive at your projections. And as you're talking about, part of that is this is what I could see happening. And I think this is the most likely scenario, even if it's not necessarily saying it's the most safe scenario or middle of the road option.
No, I agree. It like when you're doing projections, it is a whole lot of that. Like I try to find somewhere that's like in between the median outcome and the ceiling outcome.
Yeah.
Because then it kind of captures the best of both worlds on that front. And then if I have additional thoughts, that's where my confidence discount comes in, right? Where it's like, yeah, like I think he could reach the ceiling, but like I cannot confidently say that he could do that.
Right.
For whatever reason, right? Maybe he's moving up in competition, whether he, if it's a quarterback, if he's in a quarterback competition, it's like, well, I can't project him as the starter if he hasn't nailed down the starting job yet. So he's got to have a little bit of stuff to kind of draw him back there. Couple of wide receivers we talked about on CTN this past week. I just took Mario Sanders, Blake Anderson, wide receiver 1. Am I saying Sanders is 100% the guy? No, that's why he's going around 27 right now. But the upside of Blake Anderson's wide receiver 1 is something you just can't ignore. And to me, I think we as CFFers should be taking more shots at that wide receiver room and trying to figure out who we like there. Because the upside is, 1,200 plus yards and 10 plus touchdowns with Anderson getting to run the system that he wants. Now, I don't love the quarterback situation there. But again, I think you should sprinkle some shares into that Southern Miss wide receiver room. And then Ty Mims, with Caleb Brown being injured most of the spring and Mims consistently getting praise out of camp there, I'll take the shot on the top slot wide receiver in that Alex Mortensen offense, which has been pretty solid. Been averaging about 100 targets the last 2 years. So, all right, Matt, you're on the clock here. You got 15 seconds left. What you looking at, man?
Looking at a whole lot of options here. Oh, Quayshawn Brown. think you've got an opportunity there in this offense. I liked his production at Duke last season.
Very nice. All right. Coming around here, a couple of my other favorite guys here. Again, Gibson was in my queue. That's a good pick by Sully. Harris is a solid pick by Carp there. John Anthony Garcia, very solid pick there at Utah State. And let's see how this goes on the turn here.
How wild that we're taking the and rightfully so. But like the Alabama running back room, just an absolute pit this year.
Oh no, it's awful. I am so concerned about that Alabama running back room, especially now that Crowell is injured as well. Their running game held them back last year. I don't know if they have anything to fix it this year. It's very unfortunate for the Tide. They need somebody to step up in that room, and I just don't know that they have it. All right. Let's see. I'm trying to figure out, hold on. Let me count I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 quarterbacks. 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 running backs. And wide receiver, I got 1, 2, 6, 8, 9. Okay, so I do have 10 wide receivers already. Michael Ford, what a great pick there. Well done, sir.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Again, if Stanford gets on track this year, which is a tall order given what they've had the last couple of years.
It's a big if.
It's a big if. But if they get on board, or if they get themselves on track, Michael Ford's going to be the beneficiary, right? They're going to run the offense through him, and he could easily see 200 plus touches. Now he might end the year with only 5 or 6 touchdowns because the offense just can't score. But I could see very much a big jump for Michael Ford here. Good pick with Amari Hatcher there by Sully. Again, another one of my favorite late round wide receiver picks. And now I'm on the clock. I'm going to grab my 11th wide receiver. Just again, because, if I have 5 wide receivers I've taken in the last 5 rounds here, I need 2 or 3 of these guys to really work out. And I feel pretty good about just the system plays that I'm hitting here, right? Wide receiver 1 for Dowell Lagaines, wide receiver 1 for Blake Anderson, wide receiver 1 for Alex Mortensen, and wide receiver 1 for that Ohio system. I already took Duncan Brune earlier. Preston Bowman seems to be the one getting the buzz out of Ohio at wide receiver. And then, honestly, I need one more quarterback, so I'm definitely taking quarterback with my last pick here. I got 3 in my queue here. And, yep, I'm going to go ahead and complete the Ohio trifecta. I'm going to take Nick Polos, the projected starting quarterback there, a guy who can run the ball. So he'll very much fit what Ohio's been doing with their quarterbacks the last couple of years. And a good stack here at the very end with Preston Bowman. So hopefully that works out. Jamie says, Chase from East Carolina, does him going to Penn State help? Oh, are you talking about a Chase Sowell? Does him going to Penn State help his cause this year than what he produced with the Cyclones? I think it'll help him being in that system for a second year. I think he's injured from what I remembered again. So that's obviously not great. I've backed off on Chase Sowell since the start of this offseason. Because also Kobe Howard has gotten a lot of buzz, and I think if there is a person that can break out there, it's probably him. So, yeah, I've definitely backed up on that. Mike says, friends don't let friends draft Penn State wide receivers.
What about Iowa State wide receivers?
I would say, Mike, would you be saying that if they were still at Iowa State, would you say that friends don't let friends draft Iowa State wide receivers? Because that's just not true, Mike. We both know that. Now, granted, again, moving up to Penn State is a bit more of a taller order than playing against the Big 12.
Yes, defense.
Matt, you picked Austin Simmons there with your last pick. That is your first quarterback in over 10 rounds. You feel good about waiting on your last quarterback pick there?
Yeah, I think so. Balance out the early picks. And, I've got my Caden Lee pick. I love a good stack. So I thought Austin Simmons in the small sample sizes, we've seen it work. And we've seen Drinkowitz work well with less at the quarterback position. So I think it's a sneaky play there.
All right, very nice. Again, the draft has ended. Appreciate all of you guys who drafted with us tonight. We had a great group of drafters tonight. Really smart guys all around. Sharp group. It was very fun. Again, a lot of sniping going on all night. Matt, I really appreciate you for coming on tonight, man. You were awesome. Great insight all the way through the stream. Y'all in the chat were awesome tonight. Appreciate all the questions. Very lively chat tonight. That's what I want to see every single week. You guys have been awesome. Yeah, you guys are awesome. A couple of quick housekeeping here. Tomorrow's CTN is delayed till Tuesday. Chris had some stuff come up today with some family, so we're going to record that tomorrow night, and we'll have that out to you guys Tuesday. So, if you want to re-listen to this show, that would be great. And then next week, I will not be hosting this live stream, but Chris Battisell, my co-host over at Chasing the Natty, is going to be hosting it. I'm getting him set up with all that this week. He and John Lobb will be teaming up for that, so you guys are going to 100% going to want to tune in for that. It's going to be an absolute great time. Just because I'm a boy doesn't mean you guys don't show up. It means y'all need to doubly show up and help those guys out. With that being said, check out the Canes Classic in 2 weeks. Matt will be hosting that over on the Rookie Big Board channel, so make sure you're subscribed over there. Not only for Matt's great content, but also to make sure you do not miss that stream on Saturday, was it 24th?
25th. 25th.
Saturday the 25th, so make sure you are checked in with that. With that being said, appreciate all of you guys. Make sure you check out the rest of the Campus Canton podcast family for shows ranging on pretty much anything you could think of related to college fantasy. Like I said, I'll see you guys on the next episode of CTN. Until then, appreciate y'all. Have a wonderful and blessed week. See y'all.